to the Sketch Cover Comic Cast.
Welcome to the Sketch Cover Comic Cast. This is James Hussey, a.k.a. Robin, here with my main man, Clay Pauley, who I think is going to be taking on the role of Cyborg today. So get ready to get angry at your parents, both of us, I guess. We're broadcasting from Titans Tower. In case you didn't know, the subject is the new Teen Titans by Marv, Wolfman, and George Perez. How you doing there, Clay?
I'm doing pretty good, my friend.
Awesome. I do want to say I got a little bit of a cold today, so I've got more of a deep voice, not quite Batman, but it's all right. So we'll make it through today.
Yeah, I'm kind of going through a headache myself. Had to take some Advil.
And that's after reading Teen Titans. So
oh gosh, I hate that's the case.
Let's see, Family Geek Front. Gosh, what is going on? Well, looking forward to hopefully going down to Comic-Con this weekend with the family. So that's going to be fun.
That's a really good thing to bring up. Yeah, it's going to be a blast. We're going to meet our good friend Eric Nieltowski down there, which is going to be awesome.
And let's see, what else has been going on geek-wise? I've been playing some toys again. Got Mario, Luigi. Jimmy's got Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. We've been adding them to the mix a little bit. So that's been fun. Awesome. Still been really enjoying reading those DC comics. I know I did a quick geeky review of the DC Comics Super Pet storybook line. Yes. We've really been enjoying reading those, and awesome. It's so cool that they talk about the mythos of the different characters. It's just fun. So I've been really finding my joy with that with Jimmy.
That's cool. That's really cool. Honestly, this week has been so odd. There's been just not been a lot of stuff going on with me and the family as far as geek related material. Well, it was my daughter's birthday on June 4th. And it was my sister's birthday, June 5th. My wife's birthday, June 8th. And I think my mother-in-law's birthday is the 13th. It is just holy cow. So I have not had a lot of time to do too much geek stuff. But the only thing I think that was kind of funny or hilarious that happened was that Becca and me for a while were really playing a lot of Monster Hunter World on PS4. Becca stopped playing because she was it was getting a little bit intense. All the different hunts that we'd go on to hunt the different monsters and stuff. It's kind of a grind game. You got to put in the time to get good at it. And I haven't really put a lot of time into it. I just, being a dad, it takes up a lot of time, but, and comics, of course. But she decided the other night to put it on to show our cousin who was staying with us for a couple nights. She put it in and oh my gosh, she was so into it and so freaked out. But she's like, oh my gosh, an Anjanath is coming after me, freaking out that these different creatures were coming after her and stuff. And again, the game is super cool because you get a palico, which is your little pet cat that walks on its hind legs and helps you in battles and stuff. It's coming up, jumping on the creatures, throwing up distractions and stuff so you can get around and flank the beast and shoot it with your either arrows or your little guns or whatever. And she was having a blast, and that was fun just to watch her because she was doing commentary the whole time. We were all just listening to her saying
that's cool,
man, stupid dinosaur, you're going down. Oh, don't kill me. She was just having fun. So that's the only thing that really I've had a lot of time to say was Family Geek Front stuff.
Oh, I like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was fun. I like that game a lot. Just you can't pause in that game, so there's hardly any. If Emma comes around and I was playing it, if something was to happen, I throw that controller down in an instant. I don't play it a lot because I just you can't pause it.
And pausing. Well, like you said, being a dad, you've got to be on call.
Exactly. My wife the other day, she said he wants to play a game or something. Emma's pretty content. I was like, I don't know. I like to be on. I like to watch her and stuff just in case. She was like, it's okay. She's fine. So I put on Injustice 2 because I love that game. Just real quick matches and stuff. And
Yeah.
I'll be playing me some TMNT characters, and like I love being Leonardo, fighting Batman and all them guys. But I threw it on for a few seconds, and the second I started to fight, Emma fell off of this little tricycle. I was like,
Oh no!
You see, I can't play.
Constant vigilance. It
I
has to
played
be.
for 5 seconds, so she falls down. Like, but she's a tough man. She's a tough kid, man. She doesn't cry for hardly anything. So it's like in that scene in the Pink Panther 2, the new one with like Steve Martin. They're like telling him, all right, we're gonna send you to where is it, to like China or England or whatever, and he's like, you don't understand, I can't leave France, I can't leave it, they will steal the Pink Panther. And so like the second he steps over the line to leave France or whatever, like the airport, it pops up on the news, the television behind him saying the Pink Panther has been stolen. He's like, you see, like,
that's your Batman moment. I mean, not Batman, Spider-Man moment. Where it's like, I think I'm going to be irresponsible just one time. Like, oh well, Aunt May's dead too. Way to go!
Exactly. That's how it was, man. So I got to be careful whenever I'm around my daughter.
Great power, man.
Not sure I can play those games, man. She's my priority. Gotta make sure she's safe.
Now I need to check out Injustice too. If you can be like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that sounds incredibly cool.
Oh,
like,
man, dude.
No, that's how out of touch I am. I'm like,
we'll get together and we'll play it. It is so. It's one of my favorite games ever. It's awesome.
I would love that. I'm like a analog guy in a digital world, so it'd be cool to like see this whole new thing.
No, it's cool. It's really cool. But on that note, man, if you're ready to jump into Teen Titans, I'm reluctantly willing to go with you.
I suppose so. It'll be like jumping in a cold pool. I better just, get it in and get on with. I don't know. Like I feel bad mouthing because like this whole run has got like such a mystique behind it. You've got like Marv Wolfman and George Perez, who you and I were talking earlier. George Perez's art is fantastic, and. Yeah. My wife pointed out to me in our last podcast about the Court of the Owls that you and I talked about the art a lot. We should have thrown some of that up on our group page. Yeah. And I think I'm going to do that this time. Either you or me, and like maybe put up some artwork that we, have praised, because there's some really good looking pictures here. But yeah, Perez's art is great. And Wolfman is the guy that was behind Crisis on Infinite Earths, which I liked a lot. I kind of felt underwhelmed by this run. And I don't know if that's just me, like it had been so hyped up that I read it and I'm like, or if it was a case of there's a trope that's on tvtropes.com called like Seinfeld is unfunny. Oh. And that's where, like if I showed Seinfeld to Jimmy, he would be like, I don't understand. I've seen this on 2.5 Men, or I've seen that, like a show about nothing. And they were like, no, but what was so cool is Seinfeld did it first. So maybe that was part of what was cool about Teen Titans, is that when this stuff came out, no one had seen it before. So it was awesome. But now me looking back and reading, I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen this in Jeff Johns' run or in the X-Men or, something like that. So I don't know. It just didn't click with me like some of the other stuff that we have discussed.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. Like it's real interesting, like us reading a story that was developed so far back. Contextually, maybe this was like a super big deal when it first came out, but knowing who Deathstroke is like now, I read the issue where through this trade that here's his first appearance, and it felt kind of underwhelming. I mean, it was cool to see Deathstroke, but it was like this story doesn't really make him feel like the world's most deadly mercenary or assassin. Like he was kind of cool, like, but at the same time, it was just, I had more fun with the nostalgia of seeing Deathstroke than I was actually impressed with him being in the book. Same goes for like Trigon. I know who Trigon is now, and I've seen some really great interpretations, or especially like in like the Teen Titans TV shows and stuff, where Trigon felt really cool and he was interesting to read about. But reading this book, I'm like, man, he just looks kind of like this big red dork with Rudolph ears.
He did look like a big red dork.
So, but at the same time, like the story still presented Trigon in a imposing way, but it didn't feel like it was like, like a really big deal. So I don't know how else to say it, but yeah, I'm with you. The story, I think, maybe it's just one of those cases where the story just hasn't really lasted the test of time, but it's still noted because of maybe what it was contextually, maybe.
I think that is it. And I guess I should go back and talk about, the trade is, Teen Titans, the New Titans, Perez Volume 1, Perez Wolfman Volume 1. And it covers, I think it was issue 1 through 8. And it's the whole arc is basically, here's the Teen Titans, here's how they got together, and here's how they learned to operate as a team. It's kind of like, I guess before this, in the Silver Age, there was another group called the Teen Titans. It was written by Bob Zaney Haney, and Nick Cardy, I think, was the artist. And it was all the sidekicks were kind of in their own group. Wonder Girl, Aqualad, Speedy, Robin, and I'm missing somebody, I think. I don't know. But maybe that is all of it. Anyway, they had their own group, and they had like some zany adventures where they fought like the Mad Mod, and they fought like, different guys. And then I think that magazine got canceled. And Kid Flash is the other one. And this one was kind of like a reboot of the Titans. And they had 2 old members, which would be Robin and Wonder Girl and Kid Flash, three. And then they brought in new members like Cyborg and Starfire and Raven. And that was like the crux of the whole issues were them becoming a team, then figuring out like the various mysteries, like who is Raven, who is Starfire, and then learning to work together as a team, because it opens with Robin and Kid Flash talking about maybe getting the Titans back together, and then this mysterious person named Raven comes in and is like, you're needed, and then they go through all of these adventures where they rescue this alien princess, and then Deathstroke takes a contract out on the Titans and they have to fight him, and then it's all built up as who is Raven, who is Trigon, what's she getting them ready for, and that's kind of it. Did I leave anything out, or do you wanna...
No, I think that's probably the most concise way you can stick it. I mean, it really is just that simple of a concept, just drawn out 8 issues.
And drawn out, I think, is a good way to put it. It was very compare it. And other people have compared this as well. The Teen Titans were DC's version of the all new, all different X-Men. Gotcha. And even kind of had the same premise as well, because the X-Men had their own like 5-people group, with the first 5 X-Men. And then they restart them, in the late 70s, early 80s with 2 of the old members, Cyclops and Jean, and all new members, like Storm and Nightcrawler and Wolverine. And then, they have their classic arc and they learn to work together as a team and blah, 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 blah. And maybe I'm comparing it unfairly to the X-Men. I like the X-Men better. And you and I talked about like, maybe it's nostalgia because I read those comics when I was a kid, but I will say this, in comparing the original like first 7 issues of the all new, all different X-Men, I felt like that was kind of a chore to get through, just like I felt with the Titans a little bit. So maybe I owe it to the Titans to pick up volume 2 and maybe read at least to the Judas contract, where that's supposed to be, Terra comes in and there's a whole thing with that. I don't know, but I'm just not in the mood to do that right now. I don't think.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. Like I'm not sure. Maybe it was just maybe I'm spoiled as a modern comic reader. I don't know, but like it seems like the pace of most books nowadays are so much faster. Like I can find myself with most modern comic books getting through it, like the entire book, just one single issue, maybe 22, 24 pages in 15, 20 minutes, tops. And then for this book, it felt like it took me like at least 20 minutes, like to finish one issue. Like there's so much more content, it seems, in all of these, Silver or Bronze Age comics. There's so many more thought balloons. There's so many more sections where it's giving backstory, or those sentences where it's like, meanwhile, back at Teen Titans Tower, our heroes are preparing to fight. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so many of those lines. There's so many more panels. Everything's not drawn out like in modern comics. There's just a ton of like 1-page splashes with like lots of different intricacies in the 1 page, to whereas in these books there's like, I don't know, somewhere between 7 to 9 panels per page. There's just a lot of stuff to go through and look and follow the story.
There's a lot of balloon. It reminded me again, you see it online, a lot of comic sites are talking about like Chris Claremont, like for the X-Men, again, this is popping up. He was very well known to be a verbose with his thought balloons.
Very wordy.
Seemed of the same vein here. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. yeah, okay, we're gonna. And it did. It seemed like it took me forever to get through it as well. I don't know. It probably we are spoiled as modern comics fans. I'm thinking because like you say, like the comics today are a lot different, and it just seemed like. And we had this conversation too about them trying to make the teens more adult, like here's what I would be like if I was a teen. I've got my own apartment. I got my job. I'm out here with these girls in their bikinis. It's awesome. Right. But at the same time, you're still using like tropes and storytelling things like the thought balloons and like the verbose wording that wouldn't be out of place in the Silver Age. It seems like, part of it is trying to straddle the line between modern age and, the old school storytelling and actually doing neither and not being able to fit on either side. Like, it can't be like, like looking back at the old Teen Titans where it's like, okay, they're fighting the Mad Mod and Robin is reading this, fake letter. It's like, fellows, this letter is a fake. No real teenager would say, we need to go to this place. He would say, we need to check out the scene. Jive, turkey, like you could look at that and be like, oh yeah, that's classic Silver. Like we'd laugh at it because it's classic Silver Age. But looking at this, you're like, well, they want me to take this seriously. Like, okay, Changeling, or where he's like, okay, we've got to save this alien princess. And he's like, man, I hope she's stacked. And it's like, gosh. You're a chauvinist, Changeling. And he turns into a pig. Like, okay, maybe I could see that in the Silver Age toned down a little bit, but they're bringing it into the modern. And I'm like, this just feels out of place and kind of brings the story to a halt. And I don't know if I'm making sense there.
I think you are. And man, you're starting to touch on what I was my thoughts going into most of this story, like, because again, I had not read this run before at all, and I was excited to read it. I've read a lot more modern age stuff with Teen Titans. I know me and you both agree that the Jeff Johns Teen Titans, starting with the kids game, the first trade is amazing. So I remember reading that in other Teen Titan books of that era. But going back and reading this, it's so much more different. And I kind of, the only way I know how to explain my thoughts going into or out of this book after reading it, I feel like I was reading kind of a modern Disney Channel live action show where like the kids are in charge, but all the adults who are involved are kind of buffoons and idiots. That's so annoying to me. I can't even express how lame of a concept that is, especially for Disney Channel. But I mean, like, I'd much rather see cartoons of Mickey Mouse. But
absolutely, it's awesome.
But all these kids, again, they're kids. They're called the Teen Titans, so technically their age range should be from 13 to 19. But all of them are put into these scenarios where, I mean, for those who can't even, they're not even of the age to drive yet, they're put in these positions to be, portrayed as adults. And that's kind of just like, why are you guys having a pool party where Starfire and Donna Troy are like in bikinis and you guys are acting, saying things that are insinuating very sexual ideas? Guys, I get that boys, the target audience at this time, again, is teenage boys. They're trying to, market to them to an extent, but it's still inappropriate. I mean, and let's not forget the fact that, as I said earlier, with like in a modern Disney Channel show, the adults look like buffoons. In this story arc, the Justice League is kind of portrayed as those buffoons. Like, that Raven comes to them with a dire plea, like for their help, and they kind of just brush her off and say, "Oh no, we sense evil in your heart. She must be setting us up for a trap." And it's like, wait! You're the Justice League. You got Zatanna there. You got Batman there. I'm sure you guys can deduce or somehow magic your way into her mind and understand she's telling the truth and something's up.
Well, even if it's like she's setting them up for a trap, and I thought that too. I'm like, shouldn't you investigate to see who is setting you up into this trap? Or we'll find out eventually. Like, what?
Yeah, it was really messed up. Like, I was like, this doesn't make any sense. And I get that maybe it's if Wolfman's attempt to make the Titans more exciting. Like, I mean, because, well, here's my unfiltered thoughts on this. Like, I really enjoyed the cartoon Young Justice. I thought it was amazing because it painted, and I'm not sure, have you seen that show yet?
I have not. I need to take a look at that. I've had it been recommended like by you and like a lot of other people. And like,
I bet you'll absolutely love it. Cause I think a lot of people love it. And I think they love it so much that I think they're trying to bring it back. It was canceled after season 2, but there's like a petition to start season 3 after it ended. And that was like, years ago, but the show was downright amazing because it really portrayed all of the kids as kids. They were immature. They didn't know what they were doing with their powers. They were all learning. They're all basically the best of the best as far as sidekicks are concerned. And this is a place for them to come together and learn how to develop their powers and build relationships. And it was awesome. But they were put in a position of mentorship. They had people like Black Canary, Icon, Green Arrow, even Batman were all coming to their main hideout and teaching them things, taking them through training, talking to them, and then also giving them realistic missions, like just doing recon, just going through and investigating disturbances in certain areas. It wasn't them actually going to take on the world's deadliest assassin. It wasn't, a bunch of kids going to take on Trigon, the, universe-ending entity. It was realistic missions for teenagers. And so I always look at the Teen Titans through that lens of how they should be defined as kids learning to be young superheroes. And this puts them in the position where I feel like Wolfman's kind of forcing them to be adults where they kind of just need to be kids. Like, let them be kids.
I would agree with that a lot. I think too, maybe the reason that Young Justice was so good and that, the Jeff Johns Titans and stuff was that they could look back on this version of the Titans and be like, oh, yeah, I would change that. Or, okay, yeah, that would look good, but different. Or what if and maybe that's why it gets successful, because there's some good stuff in, the Wolfman Perez stuff. Like I like the, Robin trying to be a leader. I like Starfire, being introduced to the Citadel, you find out who they are and all these other planets. And I like, Raven's powers a little bit. And I like the idea of Deathstroke. What he becomes later is a lot cooler, I think.
Yes.
But, but there's just so much that I'm kind of like, yeah, I wonder if, if they had it to do over again, they would do it differently. It's just, there's a lot of potential that I feel like could have, in hindsight, could have been better.
Exactly. I don't know. The only way I know how to explain it is like when I think of any American superhero comic book, I always think of the hero like, is he a person I'm actually looking up to? And I don't want to say idolizing, but just is there someone that I could let my kid be a mentor under, just like that they can look up to? And most of these kids are not, at least the way they're presented in this book, they're not mature enough for me to want to encourage my kid to read about, or even that I'd want to really read about, like Changeling / Beast Boy. I prefer Beast Boy. Changeling, just comes off in this series as just a grade A perv. Like, well,
he's a hashtag Me Too claim waiting to happen. Like,
really is. Oh my gosh, yeah. How true is that? Like,
and I get like, okay, you're trying to build a superhero team. Changeling's going to be the immature, jokey guy. Robin's going to be the down to earth. I felt a little bit too like it was like a paint by numbers. Here's who the archetypes is. Cyborg's the angry black man. So Starfire is, because he was angry for, I'm not going to say for nothing, but it just seemed like he had a chip on his shoulder because, well, we need a character to have a chip on his shoulder. And it's going to be Cyborg. I'm like, I've seen him, again, hindsight popping up. I've seen him portrayed differently, in the modern era. And I'm like, yeah, I like some Cyborg. He's cool. Oh, yeah. Like, no.
Yeah.
And, Wally West too, being like the way that I love Raven, don't touch. I'm like, no, I remember him trying to fill Barry Allen's shoes and being immature, but like struggling, to like, I'm like, I liked that Wally better than this Wally. But again, hindsight, that wasn't the first Wally West I was exposed to. It was, I was exposed to him during the Bill Messner Loeb's era, the Mark Waid era of the Flash, not this. So maybe I would have felt different if I'd picked it up, but yeah, I don't feel like there's anybody here that I would be like, yep, maybe Robin a little bit.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd agree with Robin.
But I don't care for his choice of friends. And I bet like Bruce Wayne is sitting back at the Batcave and he's like, I don't know, Alfred. He's at a pool party at Changeling's house. I think he might have beer there. I hope he doesn't drink any beer or smoke any of the dope. And then like Alfred would be like, no, don't worry, Master Bruce. I'm sure you raised him well enough. I just don't know. I hope I don't get a phone call that he's driving the Batmobile intoxicated. And he just don't know.
Yeah, that'd be almost a more interesting story. I mean, like,
I think it would be. Like, Mark doesn't know about this. He doesn't have a sidekick.
Oh no, that's right. Oh man, that'd be pretty hilarious.
And it seemed weird. The stinking, somebody, you don't know who, builds a giant T for Titan's Tower, but we'll go in, sure. Not like Deathstroke just tried to kill us on the order of some other group. Yeah, we'll stay here. And hey, Raven keeps popping up and disappearing mysteriously. And every time I comment on how that's weird, the Kid Flash wants to beat me up. Nah, it'll work itself out.
Yeah, that's right. And that is super sad. How, like, from issue 1, they're building up how Cyborg again is this hot-headed guy with the chip on his shoulder, and he's so mad at his dad because his dad saved his life, but ultimately his mother was killed because of the same accident or something like that. But then in the final issue of this run, Cyborg and his dad kind of find some resolution. But there's only, but the secret is that his dad is secretly dying. The same thing that hurt Cyborg and killed his mom. I think it produced radiation that's now killing his father. Slowly, but he never tells his son, not until the last 2 pages of the final book. And then there's a 1-page montage of them kind of throwing a football and drinking, whatever together. And then they're just sitting there chatting, going to a football game or whatever. And then he's dead. That's kind of the big hoopla of that whole story arc. The dad's dead in 1 page. And it was just sad.
Well, and then Cyborg starts to be a little bit nicer. Okay, I kind of like this Cyborg, but I don't know. And why didn't the dad just tell him, hey, here's what was going on? Oh, you got to do because it's, you might be like, oh, well, it's not that simple. But yes, it is. Because when his dad tells him that, 2 panels later, they're throwing the football, hanging out. Why don't you just do that?
Yeah, I mean, speaking of simple, it was kind of this odd. That's kind of the big elephant in the room when dealing with Raven in this book.
Yeah.
Why didn't she just say something from the very beginning of the book to all of her rest for Teen Titans? Because the big hoopla, I think, around issue 4 is that they all discover that she kind of half lied about some of the things. She used her powers to make Kid Flash think he was in love with her. Didn't tell all the Titans the truth about who she was, that Trigon's her father, and other stuff like that. And then they all kind of blow up and get mad at each other, kind of like kids would do.
Yeah.
But they just walk away all frustrated. It was just, why in the world didn't you just say something in the beginning? Because it would have avoided all that drama. I don't
it was
know.
Drama for, and again, I am going to read a volume 2 because thinking back, okay, X-Men, the original, with the all new, all different, you had a John Proudstar who was the angry guy with the chip on his shoulder. And then after he dies and they bring in the Phoenix, it starts to get really good when the writers start finding their voice and their pattern. So maybe that happens with Teen Titans. I really hope so because I want to like them. I like the idea of, dude, okay, it's the Junior League, it's Justice League, but they're trying to step out of the shadows of their mentor. But I just didn't feel like it was well done. I don't feel like it was earned in these issues.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
There was something else you said that I was wanting to touch on. Cyborg, Changeling. Oh, what was the deal with the Fearsome Five?
Yes.
What was their deal? Trigon puts Simon in another dimension because Simon did exactly what Trigon told him to. I don't know. It was I don't know. It was just weird.
Yeah, I don't know. The Fearsome Five definitely did not feel fearsome.
No, they did not. Maybe Dr. Light had something to do with it. Oh my gosh. Knowing now what we know about Dr. Light and the retcons, I'm kind of
yeah,
I don't like this Dr. Light. It's weird.
No, yeah, it's pretty odd. Yeah, I don't know. The Fearsome Five was just kind of wasn't that imposing, but I feel like they were kind of forced to be an imposing factor because of Trigon and his plans. But I don't know. Mammoth. I don't feel like I ever take Mammoth seriously because he's especially because he's number one, he's got the redheaded stepchild hair.
Yes, he does.
With the receding hairline and stuff. It's you just kind of look kind of silly. I mean, you're supposed to.
He's a juggernaut wannabe with no helmet.
It's true. I don't know. With a name like Mammoth, I guess I just assume you're gonna actually look a little bit more mammoth-y. But he does. He's just wearing a black suit with gold boots and some little buttons on his shirt. I don't know. He never looked like a mammoth.
Well, maybe he thinks that's what a mammoth looks like because he's not that smart. I mean, I know it's
that's fair, but cavemen took down mammoths, so I don't think it's.
You know what's funny too? The guy Simon and Mammoth, my best memories of these two guys are from another comic book. Mammoth was in Superman, The Crisis of the Crimson Kryptonite, where like he loses his powers and Mammoth is like on a rampage in Metropolis. And Superman like psychs him out by like, I've had enough of this. You know who I am and what I can do. You're going to surrender right now. And like he bullies Mammoth into, well, not bully, but like cons him into surrendering with no powers. And then Simon, I remember in Crisis on Infinite Earths, where he tries to take over all the villains and Brainiac kills him. And Brainiac's like, boom. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's cool.
Dang. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was a really cool thing because like he blows it, like destroys his head, his little dome that's unprotected. He like throws something through the glass, and I was like, yeah, that's brutal.
That is brutal. I think Simon in this story gets like, I don't remember, I think he like gets his particles get like split by Trigon to, what do you say, forever be alive but forever suffering throughout the galaxy or whatever. That's pretty horrible. Like Trigon was mean. Trigon was really mean in this book. I will give Wolfman that Trigon, even though he looked a little dorky with his Rudolph ears, he still was relatively imposing. Like he even he even murdered that little girl. Like at first he was like on that one planet, he was like making her suffer, like burning her, like boiling her blood. That's what it was. And then Raven jumps in, kind of take like her powers of empathy, kind of take it away. But then Trigon, feeling usurped, goes over there and like just evaporates the girl. It was just like, oh man, like
like what was that about?
Yeah.
And he was kind of like a bully. I was like, oh, yeah. I mean, they tried to establish him as a pretty big heavy hitter, which was kind of interesting.
Yeah, when they kind of did. I memean, yeah.
Okay, here's the thing, too. When the Titans come in to save Raven and all this stuff where it felt like Trigon's place was kind of like a Conan the Barbarian light. You know, like it was like, oh, I've seen this in Conan. Oh, okay. I mean, I don't know. I think Trigon has been done better other places, if that makes any sense. Maybe.
That I can understand that.
I don't know.
No, that actually, you mentioned Conan. That reminds me of like Starfire. Who was it? Was it Wolfman that created? I forget who the creator was for Starfire, but they said was it Wolfman? Well, they actually based her off of Red Sonja. Like she literally was Red Sonja, but just from space. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. But I mean, that again just plays into why she was created as kind of like again, I hate to say it, kind of a sex symbol. Like, they were trying to market to boys, and they like, Red Sonja like showing skin, and so Starfire like showing skin as well. I don't know. It's very frustrating to me as a parent.
Well, I will have to say she's hotter than Lonnie Anderson. I mean, for real. And that's it. The some of the things in there, like it dated, like, yep, this took place in the 1980s because it changed. It was like, man, she's hotter than Lonnie Anderson, and I was like, yeah, I remember Lonnie Anderson because she used to be Burt Reynolds' wife in the 90s, and they went through a real nasty divorce. I looked her up; she's 70 now, and then he's like, is the Pope Polish? Like, no, he's Argentinian. That's different. But so some of the dated of like, oh yeah, Lonnie Anderson. And I just kind of started to date myself because I was like, who would I make be like the, sex pot to compare to these days? Like, I don't even know. I'm just so out of touch. And I'm like,
yeah, if it was me, I would just try to leave it out entirely.
Well, yeah, or make it the start. Like, I like the Teen Titans cartoon show Starfire better. Like, I think she's cuter and she's more accessible. I don't know. I am not quite certain as to why Robin is upset. I love that. It's awesome.
That's how my daughter was introduced to the Titans, and she fell in love with them. It was great.
It's like the best version of them, I think.
Keeping them kids.
Also, I love the fact that Robin drinks Dr. Pepper and 7-Up. We did some research, discovered that 1980. Boom, he's a 7-Up Dr. Pepper group guy.
Yeah, well, they did their job. I want Dr. Pepper now.
Me too. Be a pepper, because that's it. That's exactly it.
That's awesome. Well, on that note, buddy, let's transition to the next phase of our podcast.
Let's do it. The character resurrection. Right. I'm trying out something new. Sound off in the comments if you like that. If you don't, well, it'll be something different next time. I'll have forgotten.
Yeah, that's right. Well, this week it is my turn. It was my pick. And for those who have not seen the post yet on Facebook, the answer to the epic riddle, the most popular riddle we've had so far on our Facebook page, is the Wonder Twins. It was
Ta-da!
That's right. It was not just one character. It was two, Zan and Jaina from the Wonder Twins, brother and sister, superpowered individuals who through physical touch can shapeshift Zan into any form of water. So that includes ice, air, or water. Or the wet water, whatever you want to say it.
Dr. Pepper, sorry, Robin.
Yeah, there you go. Or Jaina, she can turn into any animal that she can think of. And I did not know this until I did some research on them. They're not limited to just Earth's ideas. Zan can turn into anything concerning water. He can turn into like an ice golem from like Krypton. And Jaina can like turn into any creature from any planet as long as she, has the concept in her mind. She has the ability to turn into those things. So I thought that was kind of a cool, interesting additive that I'd never known about them. That their transformations were not limited to just Earth's, species and whatnot.
Which I think is cool.
That is cool. So before I get too far into the Wonder Twins, I just want to give a shout out to a couple people on Facebook who successfully guessed who we were going to do this week, and that is to Dustin Kreitz and Malachi Alt. As far as I know, you guys are the only two who guessed correctly. Everyone else, from Brad Nuss guessing Dial H for Hero,
which is cool, which I really love that.
Yeah, Ian Samuel guessing Chuck Norris. That was
who
amazing.
I think we should give it to because it's Chuck Norris. I don't want him coming,
That no joke. Gene Perkins guessing octopus villain from Aquaman. It was just there was some hilarious guesses, and I really appreciate, and me and James too. We both appreciate everyone's interaction and your guesses.
Absolutely, it's so much fun to see this. This is our favorite part of the show, so it's just great.
Absolutely. So everyone, thanks so much for your input, and it was a bunch of fun, and we will try and continue these Riddle Me This segments each time we do one of these character resurrections. I think it's fun. I think you guys are liking it too. So great. As far as the Wonder Twins, here's a brief synopsis of who they are, and then James and I will go into how we would resurrect them. And you know what? Before I get too far ahead with the resurrection, I need to give this little statement, and that is that I don't think the Wonder Twins are necessarily bad characters. I actually really like them. I thought they've had one of the most popular catchphrases of any comic book company, as far as like Wonder Twin powers activate. It's been like that's been a really popular statement that I've heard like nerds say for like forever. Like if your best friend,
I say it a lot at school. It's
like no joke. It has lasted forever. Like they really do have a place in the hearts of lots of comic book fans. It's not that I think that they are bad characters and needing to be completely resurrected in that way. I think it's more that they have just kind of lost relevance. So the ideas I'm going to present are more for the encouragement that DC would get behind the idea of just making them, represent them in a way that they can be relevant for our modern day comic books. So I do like the Wonder Twins, and I'm glad that we're looking into them. Okay, so as far as who they are, and I'm going to kind of read this off of Fandom powered by Wikipedia. So Super Friends Wiki. Here we go. The twins were born mutants on the planet Exor to Foab and Rua. That's their parents. Each of them gifted with a specific aspect of shape-shifting. This trait has been virtually bred out of Exorian biology, meaning very few Exorians had the gift anymore. It was something consigned to the past, so they were unique. Another aspect that contributed to their gifting was that it took physical contact to bring about the change. While still infants, a great plague swept across Exor, killing hundreds, including their parents. Orphans Zan and Jaina were taken to a special center, but administrators knew that no surviving Exorian family would adopt mutant children. Instead, they released the twins to the care of a man named Dentwill? I don't know, he's an alien. Who owned a transworld carnival. According to the Exorian law, the twins were his legal property and could not leave his care until they were 20 years old. Dentwill placed the children on display and amused customers with Jaina's ability to transform into Exorian animals and Zan's power to turn into water spouts. Their schooling was done by Lilik, one of the carnival workers who became the surrogate father to them, even getting them a pet monkey named Gleek, who also performed in the circus. Last little paragraph. Zan and Jaina wanted more. As they grew into adolescence, they grew disenfranchised over the fact that they received nothing monetary from Dentwill aside from their food and shelter. When they approached Dentwill, he reminded them that he owned them and that he would do no such thing. Finally, the twins had enough, and they used their shape-changing powers as a fear factor to coerce Dentwill into relinquishing his hold over them. So they took one of his personal space cruisers before he could change his mind and headed back to Exor to plan their next move. They landed in the uninhabited Fangian, I guess, wilderness, where they came across an old house. In this house was Grax, who was planning to take revenge on his old enemy Superman and destroy the planet he now calls home, Earth. So at this point, the Wonder Twins decide to travel to Earth to warn Superman of the impending doom, and from that point, they join the Super Friends. There you go. So that is a quick update as to their origins. I hope I didn't read that terribly bad. So anyway.
Oh, no, I thought fantastic.
No, wonderful.
Wonder Twins.
Wonder Twins. There we go. So I hope I'm not cheating on my on my deal here on how to resurrect them. Oh gosh, I really like a lot of their origin already. Like, there's a lot of it that's
pretty cool.
It's not bad. It's really not. I mean, and just for those who don't know, like Hanna-Barbera, the two guys who helped form, the Flintstones, the Jetsons, all those old classic characters.
Yogi Bear and
tons of all these old classic cartoon characters. Those same gentlemen who created that genre of cartoons also headed up the Super Friends TV show, and the Wonder Twins are an original creation by those two gentlemen. So that blew my mind when I found that out. They've already got a great origin story. There's lots of drama in their origin story. The primary things that people, every time that they try and reimagine the Wonder Twins, it's mainly their look, because if you understand their look, they look pretty odd. Like they're covered in purple and yellow, skin tight outfits with these exaggerated collars that go up to their neck. Their hairlines are very stiff, almost fishbowl-ish, to go along with their pointy ears. So they have a very odd look. The only time I've seen DC actively ever try to resurrect or bring new life to the Wonder Twins was in the Justice League Unlimited television show. They were reintroduced as, again, the Wonder Twins, but they were reimagined as like these stark white looking creatures with pointy ears and long white hair. They looked virtually identical, but you could tell one was female, one was male, one was slightly bigger, more muscular. The other was obviously more feminine curves. But I don't know. If I had to guess why the Wonder Twins have not been successfully rejuvenated, I'd say it's probably because they've tried to change them too much. I think a lot of people love the Wonder Twins because they're very human in their appearance. The only thing that that's different about them, other than the hair looking a little odd, was just the pointy ears. But I mean, there's tons of cosplay, of elves and whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, especially.
So I don't think that ever caught fire. The one reboot that DC did try with them, because it was too different. It was too weird and too cold. I don't remember. I don't remember the episode exactly, but I remember it didn't catch fire, that original reboot. Okay, so I've said plenty enough. Let me get into my actual resurrection of what I think should happen. As far as how to make these characters relevant, I think that their origin needs to basically just be expounded upon. But I think almost everything about them needs to remain the same as far as their appearance. You can give them more modern costumes, that's fine. But keep them, olive-skinned individuals, continue the black hair, continue the fact that they're brother and sister. But I think it would be phenomenal if we could do something like this for their origins. I think it'd be really cool if you can combine their origin somehow to the Guardians of the Universe. Yeah, and let me explain why. I think if we take their power base as far as Zan is water-based and Jaina is, you could say, I don't know. I don't want to say Earth, but that's kind of how I tweak her powers. I'd almost want to give her the ability to be like an Earthbender type character.
Oh, okay.
But also allow her to continue doing the shapeshifting. And here's my explanation of that. I think it'd be interesting if at the birth of the planet Exor, that planet was basically, maybe it was abandoned, but I think there was maybe a guardian at one point. And it could be a guardian that was, discharged or thought dead from the original Guardians of the Universe. And maybe he left because he was like an original guardian that wanted to try and he wanted to try and build a corpse, if that makes sense. So, but the other guardians didn't accept it. However you want to play that out.
They have a history of that too. Yeah.
Right. So he leaves or she leaves. They go to this planet that's uninhabited, or even, it's inhabited by very few. But he develops these different stones. And these stones, they ironically match all the same stone colors of, you could say maybe the Green Lantern Corps, the Blue Lantern Corps, the Yellow Lantern Corps, but they don't necessarily mean the same thing. Instead of being emotional, they're meant to be elemental. And so this Guardian actually establishes these stones on this planet and gives them to various families on the planet. And this is also leads to the exposure to these different stones and all the different powers. This also leads to the, I guess you could say, mutations on the planet. Like people have different powers; they're born with the powers. Or I've even debated about scrapping that idea and just keeping it just related to just carrying the stones or whatnot. Eventually, you could argue that. Oh gosh, see, this was the part that I got so hung up on because I thought there was a million different ways you could do this. One idea, which I thought would be fun to bring Gleek in, would be to actually make Gleek. Like if this Guardian had decided to, with all these different light spectrums or elemental spectrums with a different Guardian, like of his own creation, like Gleek. What if he was like the water Guardian or whatever? And then like you created an Earth Guardian that would associate with Jaina's power, and then a fire one, and then a light, a dark, so on and so forth. And so maybe over time, one of these Guardians defects and begins to, I guess you could say, collect or remove the stones from the possession of people. And so less and less people have been having these abilities. And over time, people kind of forget about the Guardians and they kind of go into this, I don't want to say hibernation, but they kind of just fall back out of the thoughts of people. And then to fast forward, maybe the father of Zan and Jaina, maybe he finds that he's an archaeologist, something like that. He finds two of these stones and he saves them and he unleashes Gleek. He finds out that almost like a genie out of a bottle, like Gleek,
oh, that's cool.
Comes out. And so he prepares this stone and he gives it to his infant kids. Like maybe he builds them both gauntlets or something like that, or even just like these pieces of clothing that goes onto their hands or their wrists or whatever, and it attaches to them. Like again, he has the water-based one, and she has the earth-based one, and I think from that point on, you kind of can continue with their story as far as like their parents were killed. Maybe it was because the father had learned, it wasn't just a plague, or the plague was invented to wipe out all those who did know or were beginning to know. But anyway, I know I'm taking so much time, James. I'm sorry.
This is wonderful. I think it would be awesome, like because of the elemental connection. Like I'm just thinking, like, oh my gosh, you could tie it into the green with Swamp Thing, or to the red with Animal Man, or like cool. That would be so cool. And you've got like stories that could go in. I love that.
That's cool. Well, I guess I'll stop it there because ultimately it's open to interpretation what happens after that. But I think ultimately their origin is what kind of can get tweaked a little bit. And you can take that a lot of places. If it boils down to the Wonder Twins, because even like with the Green and with the Blue Lantern in DC proper, that is the combination like to have as a lantern. Like I think like they basically become unbeatable. Like the Blue Lanterns empower the Green to where they have unlimited power, but also the Green next to the Blue enables them to have all of their blue powers. It's a great combination. So it made sense if Zan and Jaina have that complementarity as brother and sister, and also fuel each other's powers to an extent, which eventually could play into Lantern stories, and they'll be just cool for all the different connections. But but I even just thought it would be really nuts if like there was a character that outside the Wonder Twins, but maybe from the same planet, a fellow Exorian, who maybe there was another set of twins who like collected like, I don't know, the yellow and the red or whatever. Maybe, the one sibling grows jealous and kills like the other twin, like a Cain and Abel type story, and tries to collect all the elemental stones, and it becomes like the lone brother or whatever, like the lonely brother or something. And then like you have like a really cool villain to fight the Wonder Twins, but he's got multiple powers, whereas they have individually, they have to work collectively to beat the one. I thought that would be fun, like a cool villain to make for the Wonder Twins based off of this idea, but I talked forever. It is totally your turn. I hope that all made sense.
That's awesome. And again, I love the elemental connection because it builds like some stories, and you could have that. Okay, they're interacting with Swamp Thing, they're interacting with Firestorm. That would be just awesome. My version slightly different, but it's kind of playing off some stuff. In the 80s, I was going to say a couple of years ago, but DC did this really good crossover called Invasion. And it was where a lot of the alien races, like the Thanagarians and the Huns, I think, and the Dominators, and like all of these guys, they all got together and they invaded Earth because Earth is producing metahumans, which like freaks them out because like all the other alien races have like, some of them have powers, but they're all the same powers. Like all the Dominators are smart, or all the Durlans can shapeshift, or but the Earth has these like wild cards, and they're afraid of them, so they're gonna like invade and take over. Well, I thought, what if we introduced the Wonder Twins as like post Rebirth in like a version leading up to a reimagined Invasion crossover? So the planet, the Exorians and stuff, that's not even a real planet. Like that's all made up. The Wonder Twins are sleeper Durlan agents. Whoa. And they can shapeshift. Like they have the form of water, form of whatever, but they could really shapeshift into other things. But maybe because they've done files and stuff on the Justice League, they know that Batman is always prepared for everybody. Yeah. Make up fake powers so that like, oh yeah, well they can shapeshift. Oh, you were ready for me to turn into water? Well, I don't always turn into water. I can turn into this too. So they're Durlans, and you mentioned their olive skin kind of thing. It reminded me of what is his name? Chameleon Boy. That's how his skin kind of looks, when he's in his and he has like the antennas and stuff. So I thought maybe they're sleeper agents for the Durlans preparing for invasion, but they enjoy being accepted by the Justice League. You get that same old story. They turn good. They defect from evil, and then they help the Justice League fight back the Durlans, fight back the Dominators, and they win. And then maybe they do a heroic sacrifice. Maybe they don't. Maybe they stay. But then in the 30th century, when you get like Reap Daggle, who is Chameleon Boy, he bases his compromised look between the Durlan shapelessness and, what he is as Chameleon Boy on the Wonder Twins. And they're like a hero that they look up to in the 30th century, like the Legion looked up to Superboy. So there's kind of like a thing like that coming in. So I was like, originally, like I was thinking, okay, here's what they are. They're shapeshifters. That's something that DC doesn't have. I'd forgotten about the Durlans. And I was going to do like they're a holdover from Marvel and DC, where they like did the JLA Avengers crossover. They're Skrulls. They're leading to another Avengers cross. But I remembered the Durlans. So
that's awesome. Yeah, it made me originally think of like the Secret Invasion. But I mean, like, I like the way you twisted it. That's really cool.
So yeah, there we are.
Dang, no, man, I like that a lot. That's like
I like them both.
I do, yeah. I think it's really cool though. Like how I can't think of what is a DC storyline where that happened, where like someone came to Earth and completely defected to the Justice League, like out of an invasion.
I'm believing they did that in Justice League Unlimited, not Unlimited, just the Justice League cartoon with Hulk Girl, but I'm not sure if it's happened before. Yeah, because like she was supposed to be like a scout for the Thanagarians, and that's why John Stewart doesn't like her. Like they had a relationship, and then it was like, you betrayed me, and then I don't know, they got over it.
Well, I like yours a little better. I mean, that makes a lot more sense, like with the shapeshifters and stuff. That's really cool.
Well, and maybe Exor is a real planet, but it's like a Durlan colony, or somehow like they've come in. But I just like the idea of, no, here's a fake backstory, and here's a real planet, but not really. Like and it kind of fits too with the Legion of Superheroes. Chameleon Boy was on their espionage squad, which was kind of cool. So maybe it's in the genes. Maybe he's related to him somehow. I don't know, but it would be like, oh yeah, the Durlans never did anything good for Earth, and then you can be like, no, but wait a minute, don't you remember like the Wonder Twin? Oh yeah, they fought alongside our hero Superman. I'm like, yes, they did. Yes, they're good guys.
That's cool. Where's Gleek?
Oh crap! He's just a monkey. He's regular monkey.
Okay.
He's from. Oh no, I remember what I was going to say about him, but it doesn't fit with my new idea. I was going to say he's from Gorilla City. He's like just hanging out. Like he's unrelated. He's a rare blue mutant from Gorilla City that takes up with it.
Awesome. That's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, I honestly, when we first started doing the Wonder Twins and like reimagining them, like my mind just kept going towards Gleek, and I was like, it'd be so great if we could make Gleek like look like the Monkey King, like a really.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Like if you imagined, not necessarily thing in my idea, but just in general, if like he became, because honestly, our last podcast made me think I think you said something about Rocket Racer being like a street rat, and it made me think of Aladdin. And I was like, "Oh, he could be like a genie. He comes out of their gloves, or whatever."
I like that too. It's like Gleek power activate.
Yeah, because that was my first idea. Was like, like let's just enhance the Wonder Twins like into the mystic universe of the DC lore. They could be joining like Captain Marvel or whatever, and Constantine. Like real mystical heroes with Gleek the genie, and anyway, that was like a fun idea I had.
Well, you could still totally do that because like Swamp Thing is tied in with Constantine and the elemental force. Oh, I would like to see that. I would like, and then you could do like a mystic war with like, how they had with DC where they had the War of Light with the lanterns. You could have the War of the spectrums, like the elementals, and then like whose side are you on? Swamp Thing is for the green, and and then like Firestorm, and then the Justice League is like, no, but you're a good guy, and he's like, but no, I'm the guardian of the flame elementals, and yeah,
I got you.
That's cool.
Well, any closing thoughts on the what do you call it?
Titans.
Well, yeah, Titans or the character Resurrection.
Character Resurrection is by far my favorite. I think I need to read some more Titans just to see if I'm like, it's warranted or not warranted. I did have a, buy one, get one free graphic novel a couple of years ago, and that's how I got like, volume 1 and 2. So I'm going to read volume 2. But if I'm not enjoying volume 2, I probably won't get a volume 3. Just saying.
Yeah. It's kind of heartbreaking. I love the Titans, but I didn't enjoy this story as much as I thought I would.
We will post some pictures, some of the artwork that we liked from Perez, and I'm going to go back and maybe post some Court of the Owl stuff too that we thought was really cool artwork wise.
Yeah.
And we are working on our website. We're getting that up, and we're going to have our RSS feed so you can get this stuff on iTunes too. So just bear with us. It is a work in progress, but you're on the ground floor of something awesome. Trust me. Okay, guys, before we close out, I want to make a special announcement for all those who've been waiting. We have got an exclusive, not just an exclusive, but an explosive offer from EricNienoltowskiArt.com. Our friend and sponsor, Eric Nienoltowski, is giving us an opportunity to basically give stuff away. Just give it away for free, absolutely at no cost to you. All you got to do is show up to the Heroes Convention this Friday through Sunday, just one day out of the 3. Doesn't have to be all weekend or anything special like that. Just go to the Heroes Convention in Charlotte, North Carolina. I think it's June 15th through the 17th. Just go have fun with your family. Bring them. It's great comics, great cosplay, lots of fun things to do there. Me and James are going to be there that whole Friday. It's going to be a blast. Yeah, that alone is.
But guys, if you go to the Eric Nienoltowski booth and verbally share the promo code Rocket Racer with him. And when you do, you get your choice of any 11x17 print that you desire. You get one completely free when you say the promo code Rocket Racer. That was our last character Resurrection, and we had so much fun doing it that he decided to use that as the promo code. And just say it to him, and you get a free 11x17 print. Does not matter if it's Batman, Captain America, TMNT, Overwatch, tons of different options. He-Man, Thundercat. Well, maybe he doesn't have He-Man. I know he's got Thundercat, but there's tons of different options.
The good Thundercats, too.
That's right, the good stuff. And guys, go to the Heroes Convention. say the promo code Rocket Racer, and you get a free 11x17 print. That means you can go to the convention, and if you don't want to spend $1 on any merchandise, you go there, you get a free print regardless. I mean, it's such an amazing opportunity.
It is. But Father's Day is coming up, guys. I mean, it's awesome.
That's right. If you don't want one, get one for your kids, get one for your dad, for your mom, or send it to the Sketch Cover Comic Cast if you don't want that one.
Absolutely, we'll take it. We'll take it.
Right. But anyway, so guys, that wraps up our show. Don't forget to take advantage of the special promo offer from EricNeoltowskiArt.com. And me and James send our love, and we will catch you guys on the next one.
Love it, guys. Take care.